and welcome back. So we've been updating the exterior of our home. In my last video I shared how we redid the whole front door, and now we're gonna move on to the shutters. So actually I did these shutters 10 years ago when we first moved here. They were like this pale blue color and I painted them dark gray. I used like can spray paint and didn't dry them properly. Now this time I've learned a few more tricks and I actually did the whole project in under 12 hours. So come with me and I'll show you the fastest way to paint your shutters. So here's what they look like beforehand. They didn't look too bad in some areas, like this one wasn't so bad, but here it was so faded and the blue color was coming back through. Also, as you can see, the screws were rusted and kind of bleeding down on the shutters. I had intentions of doing this project this summer. I had even bought a paint sprayer and I was all ready to go, but as it went on, I just never got to it. And every time I would pull into my driveway, I'd see those faded shutters and they just really bugged me. So it was time to get started, especially since we had a couple nice days. The first step was to take them down. Some were screwed and then others were put in with these fasteners. They were easy just to kind of pop out. You can buy replacements too if any of them are bent or broken. To save myself a lot of headache later, I just went ahead and numbered each one so I know exactly where it went. My dad told me that behind his shutters that he has some bats living there, so I kept my eye out for those, but unfortunately I didn't get to see any. So if there is any takeaways you get from me, please don't let it be ladder safety. Apparently all I had hiding behind my shutters were moths and spiders. So my husband and I have made a pact. I will handle anything that has to do with heights as long as he holds my ladder. So I actually grew up doing roofs with my dad since the age of 10, so I'm kind of used to being up high, and he is a little bit squeamish. So it just makes sense that I'd be the one to do it. I always get to do Christmas light duty as well. So I remember when we did this 10 years ago, I did not have a 40-foot stepladder, and I actually hung out of the window to get these off. It was probably not one of my brightest moves, but you do feel more indestructible when you're in your 20s. Alright, can we just take a moment to appreciate that my husband purposely got the sun flare in this shot? I was so proud of him. After I got them all down, we had to quit because we had a family service project planned. It was hard to get pulled away, but I knew that was important to do that night. So I had to stop until the next morning. So the first thing I did was get all of the yucky stuff off of there before I could scrub it. I just got it off with a dry brush. In the meantime, Adam decided to clean out the garage and he asked for my help in deciding which chairs we should keep and which to toss. Alright, enough messing around. I had to hustle because this was the best day to paint. There was no wind, there was no sun, and it was like a perfect 70 degrees. First I hosed them all off, got as much as I could, and then I just used the brush again to scrub them with water just to get any residual dirt off. That way the paint will adhere. To get them drying quicker, I lined them up and blew them with a leaf blower. That way all the excess water would come off and they could dry faster, and they were ready to go in about an hour. So next I need to get my paint sprayer ready. So this is the one that I bought earlier, and it was really highly rated and very popular on Amazon, so I can link it below for you, but it is meant for medium to small projects. So they said first of all to filter your paint, so I did that. It was definitely a two-person project, so I was glad to have my husband's help here. If you were starting with a brand new can of paint, you could probably skip this step. Next, you'll want to thin your paint out, and it comes with this really cool measuring stick. That way it has the percentages there, and you can pour the water depending on which line and how much you need. If you're painting straight or down at the surface, make sure your tube is facing frontward and backwards if you're going to be painting upward. It's nice that it clicks on tight so you can tell it's on, and then you can adjust it here for output. For painting side to side, make sure your nozzle is horizontal, and then for painting up and down, turn your nozzle vertical. So I first practiced on a piece of cardboard to make sure I was okay with the output. I ended up thinning it from 10% down to 20%. That way it could just spray a little bit more evenly, and I was happy with that. It's really important to make sure that your arm stays straight and you don't bend at the wrist. That way it can have a very even coverage and it goes straight side to side instead of at an angle. The last time I painted, I had them standing up vertical, and I realized that there was some drips and it would run down the side. So this time I laid them down flat. I put down a couple ladders and then some plastic and cardboard, that way it wouldn't get in my yard, and that way if it dripped, it would run backwards where you wouldn't even see it. But to be honest, when I inspected it after I was all done, there was 0 drips. It was such a nice even spray. That is definitely not the case when I used can spray paint. This did such a better job. And I'm absolutely in love with the color of this outdoor paint. It is Tricorn Black by Sherwin-Williams. Now sit back and enjoy this super satisfying content. And I'm all done. Except for this one that was hiding behind the house. And I had extra paint, so I decided to paint this trellis too. I built this trellis a couple years ago and I was kind of getting tired of it, so I thought maybe if I painted it black I would love it again. My daughter Charlotte was super fascinated by this paint sprayer. Then I went back and put a second coat on. I don't know if it was necessary, but I just don't want to do this any sooner than I have to again. Again, I was just so pleased with this paint and I felt like it just went on so nice with the sprayer. I would highly recommend it. I decided to replace the screws with stainless steel ones, that way we won't have them rusting again. This girl is obsessed with skating, it's adorable. I gave these 2 hours to dry and then they were ready to hang back up. I was really glad that these higher ones only had fasteners. It made it so much easier to put back up. Also, I wanted to share this little nail apron that I have. It is so handy because, you know, yoga short pockets can only hold so many screws. As I was putting these back on, my husband was following me around with a paintbrush and touching up the little screw heads. That way they all matched. I also found it easier to go ahead and put the screws in the shutter and then put it on. That way it was just much easier. And you guys, I am so happy with how they turned out. Here's one last look before and here's after. I couldn't believe how quickly this project got done. After procrastinating all summer, it felt good to finally get it done. So maybe you have these projects that are just kind of sitting around and you're just kind of mentally procrastinating. Just get them done and you'll feel so good, and it's so nice to share that with your family as well. So in my next video, I want to share with you, I have been sitting on it for over a year, and it is a project that my dad helped me with. We put a picture window in our great room, and it changed the downstairs so much, added so much more natural light, and I cannot wait to share it with you. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time. Bye!